North supremacy.
If you're going to beat the Packers, you got to find a way to get to Aaron Rodgers, right? So I go back to the NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl. How did you do that? And you look at what happened when David Bakhtiari went down, their left tackle, and Billy Turner had to slide out. So I'm going to say the Chicago Bears, because I think they still have the best front in that division. And I think when you look at defensively what they can do, look, this is how you're going to win the division. You got to get after the quarterback. Khalil Mack's got to be a monster of the midway again. And this defense has been watching the offense kind of sputter for the last couple of years. And I think they still have some gas in the tank. So, that's really the way to slow down Aaron Rodgers. I think defensively, that's the heart and soul of this team. Andy Dalton could certainly help with a couple of big throws, but, you look at what they've got up front. Akeem Hicks, when he's healthy, how tough he is to handle. So I like Chicago. I'm all about
even in the B-roll we just ran, we couldn't even find highlights of the Bears hitting the Packers. They barely exist. We're seeing them against the Vikings. It doesn't really exist, Peter.
Yeah, and that's why I'm taking the Vikings. I think the Bears have this giant mountain of the Packers that they just haven't been able to get past in recent years. The Vikings have had success against the Packers. Seems like every year Cousins beats Rodgers at least once, or they tie him, or they give him a battle. And last year the Vikings are in this terrible season. Packers need to win. They're at home. The Vikings beat them. And Cousins, to me, for whatever reason, goes head-to-head with Rodgers and shows up. Vikings, very big year for Mike Zimmer, an even bigger year for Kirk Cousins. But I would say of these three remaining teams, it's a big gap. It goes Packers, big breath, and then I think Vikings, Bears, and then the Lions below that.
Yeah, this is when if Nate was here, he'd be like, the only team that can beat the Packers are the Packers.
Whoa. Or themselves.
Nate does like to say that. I would go Minnesota, too. Let's just show me what you've done lately. I know the Bears did it in 2018. It feels like a long time ago. But I just still have visions of Dalvin Cook, just running right through the Packers secondary, just destroying them over and over. And I also think that, now that Stafford's gone, I think Kirk Cousins takes up that mantle in the NFC North of the overlooked, disrespected quarterback who's not as good as Rodgers. Cousins is good, by almost every single metric. And then you have this guy. So I think it's almost a non-Bears and Lions pick by default taking the... is anybody passionate at this table about who's going to take out the Packers? Sean, I didn't say there's a lot of fire coming from you from the Bears. I'm not giving it for Minnesota. It's just... we have to have an answer to the question. But I look at number 12 and I'm like, I don't know if it's anybody.
Well,
the funny thing is, it's not always just an indictment on those other teams. It's just that's how good Green Bay is. They were 13-3 last year. They didn't have a flaw until Bakhtiari went down. And so it's, to your point, it's such a huge drop-off right now.
The Packers do not appear to be in jeopardy to me right now.
No, but their best chance of...
Well played.
The other team's best chance is if he does get Jeopardy, and maybe he falls in love with Jeopardy, and maybe Rodgers goes away.
And then he's out.
And then maybe there's a chance.
That's Jordan Love.
Hemingway for 400.
Guys, I was so excited.
Got your daily double.
For what?
I was so excited to tell you guys I was going to give my best 3-word answer ever. And then you said it. Only the Packers. This is my chicken scratch from way before the show. Only the Packers. I'm with you.
I looked on your homework and stole it.
Is that what it was?
Old trick.
No, don't want to do that with math.
There's no way.
Just so you know. Stay away from me with math.
No, that's great.
All right, guys. Well, J.J. Watt was one of the prize signings of the offseason. But will he have the biggest impact? We are playing. It is time now, and we are so excited about this latest installment of NFL Network's Roster Reset. Our hosts, analysts, and reporters will be breaking down one division a day to analyze their offseason acquisitions, losses, draft needs, that sort of thing. And today's focus, the NFC North, guys.
Okay.
Which team made the most intriguing offseason addition? Let's start with Sean.
Okay. Well, look, Andy Dalton being QB1 in Chicago, I think to me is extremely intriguing. We've talked here before at this exact breakfast table about what are the Bears going to do? Are they trading up? Are they moving around? Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, there's all this banter. And I think for them to just say, we're going to go all in on Andy Dalton, who was a backup quarterback last year to Dak Prescott, obviously went in when he got hurt. But if you're a Bears fan right now, I don't know if intrigued is the right word, but absolutely, it's Nagy saying, look, we're all in on this guy. The Bears saying, we're all in on Andy Dalton. He's going to be our guy for this year. And I think if you're a player in that locker room right now, Andy Dalton, he's a darn good quarterback. Mm-hmm. But it's absolutely an intriguing signing when you look at what's going on around the league and, other quarterbacks that are trade available.
I think the Dalton thing, that Bears fans change their opinion on the Bears quarterback as the wind blows. They all hated it, and they all said that, the sky is falling. I remember when they drafted Trubisky, there was funny videos, people going viral, falling on the ground fainting because it was the worst pick. And then when Trubisky's making big throws that should have beat the Eagles in the playoffs, they're saying we love him. I think it was Peter, after they made this move to get Dalton, and everyone's saying this is the worst thing ever. Peter was pointing out that Dalton's playoff tested, he's a competitor, he's a red ass, and like, if you were to take this year away, just wipe away the Cowboys year, and we were getting Bengals Dalton, I feel like the optics would be different. Like, this was a really bad look for Dalton last year. He wasn't good. He was thrown in a terrible situation. And that's maybe the guy the Bears are getting is the one who does do the training camp, has been to the playoffs a million times, and doesn't need to be spectacular for the Bears to win. Listen, they tried as hard as they could to get Russell Wilson. They did. They tried everything. They couldn't. They didn't choose Andy Dalton. They had to settle for him. So what's intriguing about it is that maybe he might not be that bad, and there's really good players around him and a really good defense that might be enough. That's the intriguing part. It's not the worst signing of all time.
Truth serum for all of you.
Yeah.
Is anyone else intrigued about Jared Goff as the Lions quarterback, Dan Campbell? Deuce Staley's there as the assistant head coach.
Mark
Brunell is the quarterback's
They have an incredible
coach.
team.
Anthony Lynn
Yes.
is the offensive coordinator and play caller, presumably.
Their company softball team. Is
No, they're
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
No staff could beat them. Oh, yeah, Randall Al, they got everybody.
I do think it's intriguing. Listen, he's still only 26 years old. We've seen him in a Super Bowl. I know it was a miss, but it was a near miss to the Patriots that day. 42-20 career record over 4 seasons. You could do a lot worse than that in this league, and also the 4th most passing yards over that same span. 102 touchdowns, 48 interceptions. He played with some really good players. I certainly understand that. I'm interested in a young quarterback with a new opportunity and what Jared Goff does with it.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what he's made of, because this whole thing was like, the Rams just can't win with Jared Goff.
Yeah.
And it's such a slight to him. It's such an indictment to what he's built in his career. Like you said, 42-20. Last year went into Seattle with 9 fingers and beat Russell Wilson in the Seahawks in their building. And I think we say, oh, well, Jared Goff stinks. Well, Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl, has won a bunch of playoff games. I think he could do a lot worse. I'm going to stay with the Lions, though. And Kim, my biggest addition was the head coach as far as intrigue goes. I don't know what we're getting, Dan Campbell, and he's got these great sound bites with the biting the kneecaps, and he seems like he's a fiery guy, and he's perfect for Detroit. And yet, experience-wise, he's never been that guy. He was the interim coach, obviously, for Miami. He hasn't been through it all as a head coach, hasn't been through it all as a coordinator. He was in New Orleans. A lot of people thought that the defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, would be a head coach before Dan Campbell, and yet here we are. And these past few weeks, I've spoken to other coaches, like, oh no, Dan Campbell's the real deal. Like, he's not a gimmick. He's not a joke. He's the real deal, and I think it's going to be really interesting what he does for the tone of this Detroit Lions franchise, what he does for the future of this Detroit Lions franchise, because they have been a pushover, they have been a joke, they have been a punchline, and I think this guy doesn't want to be that, and I think it's really going to take a lot of resistance for us to after 1 year be like, oh, the Lions stink. I don't think this is going to be an easy season for them. They don't have a lot of talent. They're all new as far as coaching staff. I think I'm curious to see how they handle the adversity and what this guy is made of, because I think he is the right coach. I just don't think it's going to happen out of the gate.
Can I ask you something? The fascinating factor for the Lions might ramp up big time in Cleveland, because I mean, Daniel Jeremiah has them taking a quarterback in the draft at 7. So we're saying we believe in Goff, we can win with Goff. Do you think there's a realistic possibility they can take a quarterback and say, screw it? Like, DJ has them taking Justin Fields at 7.
The Goff trade, we say, okay, well, they really wanted Goff, and they also got 2 first-round picks out of it.
Yeah,
so it's like, if it was Goff or Stafford straight up, I don't know if they're making that trade. So maybe the draft picks were the more appealing part than Goff. We don't know that. They'll be on the clock at 7. Lance Fields or Mac Jones might be on the board.
Might.
If they take one of them, that tells you what they think of Jared Goff long term.
It's amazing, these quarterbacks. They're just going to go, go, go. Well, guys, which team do you think has the best chance for